Hello, welcome to your Virgo season reading. Virgo is mutable earth, and it is about refinement, discernment, and excellence. So the tarot card that corresponds most strongly with Virgo season is the Hermit, with his lantern held high. He is doing internal seeking and focusing on internal illumination. So after Virgo season, we have Libra season, which is the balance between ourselves and others. So we're bringing our gifts and what we've excavated from within ourselves out into the world. So this is preparation for that. We are learning what we can improve, what we can let go of, and what's worth keeping. So I do want to mention that I really love Molly McCord's intuitive astrology, and that is where I sourced my information about Virgo season, as well as a couple of these questions I have are about specific astrological transits that are happening this month. So highly recommend her work. She has worked with Mary Kennedy, who you may have found me through. I had her on Dark Goddess Rising last season. She's just absolutely lovely, and that's a fun connection. I didn't know beforehand that they were that they worked together. I had found them independent of one another. So anyways, highly recommend. And yeah, Molly does like weekly updates. It might even be twice a week. So if you want more in-depth information about the astrology of Virgo season, head over to her page on YouTube or her podcast. I'm going to go ahead and get into these questions I have for us. So we had a new moon in Virgo at 0 degrees, which is obviously like the very beginning. That happened like hours after we crossed over into Virgo season. So it might have been on Friday or Saturday, depending on where you are. So our first question, I've already shuffled several times. What are you ready to begin in a new way? So hold on, let me get these guys out. So the new moon happening at 0 degrees is like the most, like the quintessential new beginning. And that means that new moons are always, of course, planting seeds, but that is even more so focusing on what we are beginning, especially in the sign of Virgo being about refinement and excellence. So I'm in a new place today, and I don't want my cards to go falling off this bench, so okay, we're good. We have the 8 of Pentacles and the Knight of Cups. So what are you ready to begin in a new way? Ooh. So the 8 of Pentacles is about the work of refinement. So extremely appropriate to Virgo season. It's the work that we do for the sake of doing it, for the sake of excellence and improvement. We do it because the repetition and the refinement is the work itself. It's not so much about, it's, equal parts what it is we're doing and the purpose behind it, and the purpose being the refinement itself, the thing that we are devoted to, and that devotion being not just what develops our work, but what develops us as well in that commitment. And the Knight of Cups is about creativity, coming forward with heartfelt emotional offers. And I've also heard it referred to, Rachel McNasser, obligatory Rachel reference, has referred to this cup that he's holding as Christ consciousness, which lands really beautifully. So it's this Virgo season, what you are beginning in a new way is this work of your own emotional connection and fulfillment to your higher self, to the greater whole of you. So this is like not you looking to other people for love and connection, but sourcing that from within you and then you offering it outwards. And then, you know, that's always reflected back to us because the world is a mirror. So it's this refinement and dedication to the physical ways that you're supporting yourself in this embodiment of Christ consciousness. And if you don't resonate with that particular term, you know, like I'm trying to think what would correspond to that in like Buddhism. If you don't resonate with Christ consciousness, you probably already know the term that I'm thinking of in other traditions. But like, you know, the unified field, the whole, identifying with all of life and not just the duality of self versus other. So you are beginning this work specifically grounding it in your physical experience of energy and of like your daily life in a new way. In what ways? Usually I put the cards back. I think I'm going to leave them out. Hello. Excuse me. I think I'm going to leave them out and see what story arc we trace as I'm looking at them all together. And that might be tricky because, like I said, I'm in a new place. I'm on this little bench. Anyways, you don't need to know about all of that. If you see me like fidgeting or fumbling around down here, it's fine. So our next question, in what ways have your skill sets evolved and what are you doing differently now because of this? So we've been getting more than one card for most of these, so we'll just see what comes out. If I need to draw another card, I will. But in what ways have your skill sets evolved? And this is to ground this in a more practical time frame. We'll specifically say, you know, looking at the transition between Aries season, the beginning of the astrological new year, and Virgo. But this could also be just generally how your skill sets have evolved. What ways have your skill sets evolved and what are you doing differently now because of this? Whoa. Okay. So we have the Four of Wands and the Five of Cups. This is a really interesting combination. So the Four of Wands, you've probably heard it referred to as like the card of commitment. Like a lot of people use this to, or they associate this with like marriage, yeah, like really significant life events, but especially in love readings, this is the one that they're like, oh my God, you're gonna get together. So it's also about alignment. These two wands on either side being like 11-11, and that's also pretty common. You've probably heard that as well. Another thing that I really like about this card that I haven't heard talked about as often is the idea of this. So the figures here are all leaving this city, this tower behind, and they're coming out into the light, into the sun. And so it's related to the Tower card in that they are voluntarily coming out and like stepping outside of their walls. I think in the 78 Degrees of Wisdom book, it says something about, now that I'm talking about it, I've kind of lost that phrase, but it's something like letting the sun dissolve, like boundaries and restrictions, something like that, because all of these people they're leaving, they're taking themselves outside of these boundaries and restrictions of this the city and the tower. So the tower they're not waiting for the tower to be destroyed by the strike of divine lightning. They are coming out in celebration. So in what ways your skill sets have evolved, that was a weird way to say that. The ways in which your skill sets have evolved are that you're feeling this sense of safety and trust within yourself and your connection to, the divine, the universe, your path and your purpose. So you are coming into this space of alignment, and it's like this is your starting point, this celebration, and also union, because there are these two people here. So this is a skill set relating to life from this being your base level of reality. This openness, I mean, that's huge. It takes so much to come from, the indoctrination that we're all born into, that life is not safe, and all of us have had crazy shit happen to us. We've felt like we're not good enough. We've been given so many messages around that, whether it was from your family of origin or just society as a whole. I feel like it's safe to say that if you're watching this, you've gotten it from a lot of different angles. And to be in this place of openness and trust, and this stability too, with this being wands, for your passion and your connection to your own fire to be what is supporting you, for that to be your grounding, like that is an incredible skill set. And what you're doing differently because of this is the 5 of Cups. And so it's like you're able to relate to grief now without it pulling you under, without the same sense of panic or fear that you may have felt before. And that, again, is an incredible skill set to have, to be willing to continue facing and expressing the grief that is either, moving through you, that you're willing to embody by way of, your lineage, your ancestral experiences, your own experiences. It's not like we get to an end point where we just don't need to grieve anymore. But we can get to this point where the grieving is also beautiful because it's a part of the flow of life. So you are relating to this movement of emotions from this beautiful, wide open, trusting, stable place. And this also is feeling like the alchemy of fire and water, which is a really, we all have, I'm feeling called to say that that's really significant for you and as it pertains to this reading. Because those are, stereotypically opposites. So that feels like it's been a big part of your work with this, current leg of your soul's journey that you're moving through. So our next question is how have your standards evolved and what have you outgrown? We'll see again if this might be just if 2 cards come out, or maybe, whoa, we'll just see. I'll pull more cards if I need to. Okay. All right. How have your standards evolved and what have you outgrown? Okay. The Wheel of Fortune and the 2 of Swords. Interesting. So this feels like part of the way that your standards have evolved is because you have closed out a significant portion of karma, like whatever, again, like I just said, closing out this, the other question, like whatever like soul lessons that you've been working on, it feels like those are shifting. You have transmuted and done the alchemical work through your physical body, through embodying your emotions. I don't remember how I started that sentence out, so what I'm trying to say is you've done that work to the point that the wheel is turning, and so you're like, you've clicked that into place, and so now you're able to build on top of that, and you're naturally relating to life and to what you're moving through in just from a new perspective, because you've done the work, like you've laid that foundation. Now you're like, okay, the wheel is turning, clicking into place. We're like at a new level, and we have the World on the bottom of the deck to confirm that. So this is a really major shifting point. This also ties into actually what we're going to talk about at the end of the reading. So we have like 6 or 7 more questions, but there is a really significant astrological transit that we'll cover. So this feels like foreshadowing for that. So your standards have evolved karmically, like you're just getting a new set, like a new terrain to work with, and yeah, a new set of lessons to work with. And what you've outgrown is this 2 of Swords. So feeling like both options are equally, like the illusion number 1 of only having 2 options. So the illusion of binaries. And then feeling like whichever way you turn, they're both equally scary. Like you can't do either of those things. They're both distasteful. Like feeling like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And it's also, this is essentially like deep defensiveness, and in specifically relating to your perspective and your mind and the way that you're choosing to think about your circumstances. So there's this blindfold. This person has their heart chakra covered. They've covered up their third eye. And so they're just very much at odds. Again, this is the mind and thoughts and perspectives. So you've outgrown looking at what you've been given, where you find yourself from this place of, I can't do any of this shit. Like none of this is okay. And that is really massive. No wonder you've closed out this cycle, and you're getting to move on from, I have a feeling it may have felt like a really long period of time of going over and over and over the same, what has felt like the same lesson or lessons. So yeah, you're getting to graduate. What are you learning about your rituals this Virgo season? So, yeah, that's self-explanatory. I was going to explain rituals, but if you're here, I feel like So, the ways that you are creating sacred space in your everyday life. What are you learning about your rituals? And what are you being encouraged to focus on? So, kind of a reflection on your rituals, and then like maybe some direction or advice. Oh God. Interesting. Okay. What are you learning about your rituals this Virgo season, and what are you being encouraged to focus on? So we have the Four of Cups, the Ace of Swords, and Justice. Ooh. So first, it's feeling like you've learned that your rituals you've learned how powerful they are for shifting you out of this space of discontent and dissatisfaction and boredom into accepting this divine gift, this offering. So, and that is exactly, that's been my own experience with rituals, especially with anger work. Moving that like heavy, stuck, just like really embedded karmic energy. And when I say karmic, Ram Dass says our karma is our mind. So I want to specifically name that. To me, what I feel like karma has the most to do with is the way that it's like that Two of Swords energy, the way that we perceive. And that's not to say that karma can't be ancestral. And I think that absolutely supports karma being ancestral and past life karma, because we have all of these different inherited perspectives, and like the way that we think the world is for us, the beliefs that we have about ourselves, and the way that we are allowed to move through life, like what we're allowed to experience, and what can or can't happen for us, and all of that, because each one of us are infinite, like are the infinite expanse of the universe. We are a universe within ourselves, and also the universe itself, because we're not separate from anything. There is no us and out there. So our karma is quite literally the frameworks that give us, the identity that we have, and the stories about what our past has been, including, past lives that we might not be fully conscious of. All of these things that are inherited, that are embedded within us. And ritual is this sacred space, this container, has been, and you are learning this about your ritual, just how incredibly powerful it is to consciously commune with the mystery, with the universe, the balance of knowing that you are everything, while also acknowledging that, like, you can hold that identity of your larger self as not even being a self, while also being fully embodied in this human experience and choosing to interact with the greater mystery in a way like that is, very, very humble. And I think true humility is acknowledging just how much power we have, because it's incredibly egotistical to think that we are so special that things are much worse for us. Like, we have much less power than anyone else. That can't be true. I feel like I have said so much, and I hope that all of this has made sense in this context, and and communicated what I was trying to say. So you are learning the power of ritual, especially in relation to your own inner landscape, which is, of course, how we interpret and relate to the outer. And what you are being encouraged to focus on is, again, very, like the realm of the mind. So we have the Ace of Swords, which is the potentiality of the entire sword suit. So it's like anything you can do with your mind and your perspective is here in this divine gift of perception of your mental landscape and faculties. I know something that comes through really strongly for me that I have seen reflected in people that I work with as well, is like a real fondness and love for using our minds. And I feel like in my own experience, I haven't seen this celebrated and encouraged as much in spiritual spaces. It's like, sorry, there's a bird. I was trying to see what kind of bird of prey, what kind of raptor it was. So I feel like we get a lot of spiritual messaging around, like, well, just for starters, you know, generally people think of the idea of meditation as being like clearing your mind. We get a lot of messaging about how, where am I going with this? Just that, like, we're not supposed to be solving our own problems. You know, so you're supposed to trust and surrender. And sometimes the impression that that's given me is like, well, if I'm trying to understand something, then maybe there's some sort of element of control or ego or shadow at play. And that can be the case, but I also absolutely believe that if you've been given a mind where you really enjoy understanding things, like anything that we're given that we enjoy is part of our soul's path of growth and development. And so if it helps you to understand things, like that is a beautiful thing. So that feels like this. Okay, so let's bringing this back into the realm of rituals. What you're being encouraged to focus on is this sense of balance. And justice is associated with Libra, which comes after Virgo season, which I also have another question about, so that's a cool tie-in. So it's like balancing the interplay between self and other with your rituals. And what I mean by that, again, I'll bring in my own particular experience. Like, a lot of the ritual I've been doing lately has been based in dream work. So our dreams are sending us their communication from our subconscious, from the greater mystery, in a way that bypasses our ego because it's symbolic. So it's a communication in a way that is can be clearer than if we just were to get a message during our waking consciousness. And automatically, you know, you have all of these layers of, like, the ego and our logical mind are helping us interpret these communications we're getting from beyond. But while you're asleep, all of those filters are turned off, and so you know, our dreams can seem really like, what the fuck is happening, because they are so symbolic. But being able to work with our dreams and interpret those symbols is sending us, is like getting the message across in a way that can be much clearer than what we would understand if, like, all of these other parts of our brain were turned on, like I said, while we're awake. So all of my dreams, I don't know about you, but all of them involve other people. And so this is feeling like what you're being called to focus on with your ritual is, like I said, this balance between self and other, and working with the paradox of, again, like I've mentioned already, you know, there is no self and there is no other, but because we've chosen to participate in this illusion and living out our divinity in this particular form, we do have the privilege of learning about ourselves through other people, through the like out picturing of parts of ourselves onto others. So in the dream state, when we dream about other people, they're reflections of aspects of us. And that's how, you know, one of the ways that we work with our dreams is like, what does this person represent to me? So there's that aspect, and a very delicate balance between that and, you know, sometimes our dreams can actually truly be about other people because we're all connected. So that's kind of a whole nother thing too. And that is where ritual is really, really powerful, because we can choose to interpret and take on, integrate the aspects of ourselves that we have relegated to being parts of others. Again, I hope all of that made sense. I feel like it might make more sense in context if this is something that's like sounding like it resonates for you, but you're also maybe confused, then we can work one-on-one and apply it to a specific dream you're having, and it might make more sense in that context. What energy is the South and North node bringing into this Virgo season? So we're in Virgo season now, which is, like we've said, is about refinement, excellence. It can be about, in the shadow aspects, can be about perfectionism. And right now the South node is in Virgo. So collectively, that's what we're being asked to integrate the shadow aspects of Virgo and move towards aspects of Pisces that are balancing those shadows out. So for example, it's like learning how to say, so Virgo is can be very like analytical and you know, like detail oriented, like I said, perfectionistic. And so the Pisces balance to that is, how can I communicate this in a way that is kind and compassionate? So the balance of being in Virgo season and the South node being in Virgo, like asking us to integrate and release certain aspects of that. What energy is, yeah, you get what I'm saying. The way that I started that sentence was not grammatically, did not flow grammatically. But yeah, so what energy is the North and South node bringing into this Virgo season? Yeah, I think I'm trying to ask, like, how do we balance being in Virgo energy with releasing parts of Virgo energy? We'll see. Let's see what we got. The Empress, the Ten of Cups, the Hierophant, and the Five of Wands. Okay. So, South node, North node. So, I mean, this feels, I'm taking a moment with this because it feels like pretty self-explanatory, kind of like what I have just said, so I don't want to just repeat myself. So we're getting this grounding in overflow of abundance, in our sensuality and bodily expression, in our physical energy and renewal. You know, it's like all of the resources of the earth. And with Virgo being an earth sign, these two cards together are feeling very much like positive Virgo traits, and the Ten of Cups being like the North Node in Pisces. You know, this enmeshment is the shadow aspect of it. I don't know why I'm only thinking of like the negative term for it, but like this merging with the collective, with the family, this unity and fullness of emotional harmony and depth. So it's like these two are balancing each other out. This is like the positive end of both energies. And if you think of, you know, the aspects of Virgo, of refinement and, you know, I mean, evolution, essentially, like nothing is wasted or lost in nature. It's, you know, all of the cycles that have led us to where we are today, you know, the evolution of species and the balance of the planet, like the harmony of how everything is working together, is incredibly detail oriented. I mean, like more so than we could ever like wrap our minds around. And like the earth, the planet is just doing that. Like that shit has just happened. That is crazy. And that in and of itself is like abundance, just an abundance of life, that there have been so many cycles and iterations of like everything on this planet as a whole, and we've still gotten to be where we are today. Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of going off the deep end in abstract thinking. I'm trying to ground back down into what we're talking about. Ooh. I guess that's the Pisces North Node for you. So this is the balance that we're bringing in of this, you know, really beautiful resourcedness, both in earth energy, our groundedness, and our emotional expansiveness. And this feels like the South Node with the Hierophant and the Five of Wands. So Pisces as being the very last sign of the zodiac, and like the elder, the kind of like overseer in that regard, does feel like this Hierophant energy of like, if we're leaning too much towards well, what I say goes, like we have these structures, we have these inherited systems, and like maintaining them at all costs, despite, you know, overflowing evidence of the systems being to our detriment. And then the Five of Wands is feeling like that Virgo energy that I mentioned earlier of, being overly harsh in communication with like you might, it can be true that you see a better way to do things because that is your zone of genius, that, these Virgo traits of like analysis and excellence, seeing a better way to do things. But if that is being communicated in a way that is putting everyone else on the defensive, then no good happens, like no evolution gets done in a larger sense, because it doesn't do everyone else any good that you see a better way to do things if you're not communicating it in a way that everyone can be on board with it. So yeah, this feels like the two different kind of poles of these energies. Very interesting. Okay. So the other question that I had for this on this topic was, how can your wisdom land with more compassion and kindness? So I guess what we're asking now is, we have this information about how the South and North Node are interacting with this Virgo season. I saw something flip over. Where did it go? So like, what do we do with this? And we have the Three of Cups. And yeah, this is about being in community. So it's that feeling like the Pisces energy of how can you merge with the people around you in an effective way that allows you to communicate with empathy and understanding of where everyone else is at. And it's by being in celebration of the people that you have the privilege of coming in contact with, even if it doesn't always feel like a privilege, because that is the nature of relationships. Okay, I'm running out of space to balance my cards on this little bench next to me. Okay. What parts of yourself is this Virgo season preparing you to share with others? So this is where I alluded to earlier when we got the Justice card being like corresponding with Libra season. So Virgo is preparing us for the balancing act of being in relationship with others. So what parts of yourself, what parts of you are you being prepared to share with others? What? Okay. We have the Tower and the World. Okay, so there's obviously something here that is illusory, that is being torn down. So there's some part of yourself that you've been keeping locked up. I'm guessing out of fear of abandonment or rejection. And this Virgo season is preparing you to share that part of yourself with others by burning your tower to the ground. This isn't telling us, I mean, that kind of answers the question, what part of yourself is it? It's whatever, it's the truth. It's a truth that you haven't been sharing. Interesting. Maybe you know what that is. Maybe you'll find out. I don't feel called to pull another card on that. So, yeah. Keep an eye on that, and check back in when Virgo season is over. And we'll see what illusions have been stripped away. And, this maybe partially comes from experience, but I encourage you not to go into a tower moment or anticipate a tower moment with fear, because it's ultimately serving your highest good. Removing illusions is serving your expansion and like bringing you into more fullness, so you're not living from a place of fear. So it's a really, really, two butterflies just flew by together. It's a really, really positive thing, especially when it comes to being able to be in relationship with others more truthfully. Yeah, and closing out cycles, coming to completion, and once again expanding into more of your own fullness. What supports you moving forward? Okay, I can't see my phone right now because I have you on the back camera, and normally I film in front of the mirror so I can see how long it's been. I feel like I've been talking for a long time, so I'm gonna skip this question because I really want to cover this minor grand trine. This is another thing that I alluded to earlier in the video. The minor grand trine is with Uranus and Gemini, gross, Neptune and Aries, and Pluto and Aquarius. All of these planets are going to be at 1 degree of each of these signs. And this is like jettisoning you off. You are being jettisoned into like I said before, this whole reading has been building up to this with the Wheel of Fortune, with the new set of standards, new set of lessons. So your soul's spiritual evolution is being brought into a new chapter, and this is going to be happening, like these 3 planets are going to be moving together in this new octave until I think it's 2029. So like this is a really big deal. This is just a whole new, I don't know if it's more appropriate to say chapter or book. Like this is a new leg of your spiritual evolution. So I wanted to draw cards on what is going to be like, what the flavor is of this, what the new course is in your spiritual evolution. Okay. Whoa, okay. So we have the Knight of Pentacles, the 6 of Wands, and the 6 of Swords. Interesting. Okay. So the new course in your soul's spiritual evolution is revolving around, first of all, this speaks to what I was just going to say is like we have years to see how this is going to evolve and play out. So this is like 3 cards at this moment in time telling us about the next 4 years. The Knight of Pentacles is reminding us like this is a long haul overhaul. Like this is planting seeds for the long term. This is, slow and steady. Yeah, this is there. It's also a lot of devotional energy here. Like this is not a churn and burn kind of thing. And it has to do with your leadership, your recognition, in specifically relating to the spiritual themes your soul is exploring right now, have to do with you being in this role of leadership and recognition. and also moving first, like, overall, just moving beyond the known. So this is going to be like something very brand new. It's almost like, because the energy is moving so quickly and the veil has been getting progressively thinner and thinner, like, we are in, you know, you've heard, anybody you've listened to, I'm sure, has said this, like, we're in unprecedented times. It's like you are moving so quickly that the only thing that is for certain is that it's going to be radically different than anything you've known up until now. But there's a very grounded energy with that. So it's not, you know, that it's not like an unmoored, untethered kind of, you know, like, good luck, the wind's gonna be like blowing you any which way, because you have this ferryman that is accompanying you and guiding you. But it is, you're moving into calmer waters, but I just get the sense that it's like, this is a very massive shift, and you're not being given a whole lot of details right now for a reason. But this even is like crossing the river Styx, which is like the boundary, the barrier to the underworld. So this is entering a whole new paradigm. And our last question is, what has been aligning behind the scenes to support you? So what kind of backup do you have? What kind of spiritual, oh my God. This is the last question. I was not expecting this many cards. What kind of support are you being given that you are not seeing right now? Okay. We have the Page of Swords, the Six of Pentacles, the Ace of Wands, the Nine of Cups, the Page of Pentacles, and the Sun on the bottom of the deck. So what support is happening for you behind the scenes? So this feels really tied in with that Six of Swords, moving you into calmer waters and just a whole new paradigm of experience. The Page of Swords is this curiosity and sharpness, in the sense of like nothing is getting past you because you're so tuned in. You have this sense as the page, as like a younger, fresher type of energy. There's this sense of, because everything is so new, you're like locked in. Nothing is getting by you. You're curious. You are deeply observant. So that is serving you, and you're moving forward, but you have this like reflective gaze at what you've already moved through. So there's this continuation of wisdom and study of everything that's brought you to this point. So it's like you're seeing all of that with this new curiosity and a new perspective. There is reciprocity here for you. Behind the scenes, the universe is balancing the give and take of energy, of resources, like making sure that your needs are always met. And this reminds me too that giving is a gift. Being able to give to someone else feels really good. So when you receive, you're giving someone else the gift of being able to give to you, and vice versa. So there is never a there's never an odd man out when it comes to generosity. There is an inherent reciprocity, as long as that is being acknowledged, and you're in what's the word? Your way of staying in integrity with receiving is holding that balance of knowing that you receiving is a gift to the other person as well. And I mean, really, that's like, manipulation can't happen if there is no shame or guilt. If you're not being run by your shame or your guilt, then somebody else can't manipulate you, because there's nothing to manipulate. Everything's out in the open. There's this divine connection to, like, whatever this passion and drive and purpose is, it is so much bigger than you. So this is being orchestrated behind the scenes, and whatever like seed or kernel of desire you are aware of, know that it is connected to so much more. Like, it is connected to the whole, to the big picture, in a way that you just like have no idea of right now. And so that is a way, like, that is you staying again in integrity with your desires, and like truly having humility around them, by like remembering that the awareness that you're being given is part of like the dance that is so much bigger than you. Like, it involves everything in existence. So you can bring so much faith and devotion to your desires, rather than, feeling guilty about them, or trying to make them smaller, or bypass them, because they're little sparks connected to the great current that is moving everything in oh god, I keep blanking out on words. Yeah, moving everything in interconnection. So your stability in resourcing your own emotional fulfillment and contentment has been like the magnet that is pulling all of these pieces behind the scenes into alignment with you, with what you need on your path. And it's like it's a back and forth, because as you are finding this inner fulfillment, feeling like all of your wishes have come true regardless of external validation, you are pulling those things into your orbit, and then those things coming into your orbit is supporting you in feeling this sense of security and stability. And you are getting this opportunity to focus on your star So your joy in your human embodiment, your big picture, like, this is the reason that I'm doing it. You're in this energy of study, and again, like a curiosity and a newness to this experience of physical reality, and yeah, like relating in a new way because of this massive shift in the energies. And speaking of newness, this final card of the Sun being you reborn as your most innocent, like, core identity. This is you being reborn in your innocence, in your purest form and knowing of yourself as divinity, as the truth of divine spark. And that changes, it both changes how you relate to everything, and it's like it undoes everything that's been overlaid on top of it, and it like strips you back down to this most basic state of truth, of just being radiant in your existence and not needing, not feeling like grasping or attached, just radiating and just existing and trusting and knowing that you are everything and you have everything that you will ever need right here in this now moment with you. Wow. Okay, this was a doozy. This is a really big reading. I hope you have an incredible Virgo season. I'm so excited to hear how this plays out for you. And I will be back soon with more readings. If you have any questions or topics you would like to see covered, please leave them for me in the comments, because I love to hear from you. And that helps me steer my content towards what's most relevant for you, because I'm so happy you're here. And I want this to be meaningful for you as well. I'll talk to you soon.